Yes, people, what's happening? Welcome back to Chelsea Fan TV and welcome to another episode of the Chelsea Fan TV podcast. First things first, guys, make sure you smash the likes on the video, subscribe to Chelsea Fan TV if you haven't done so, and leave your thoughts in the comments below on whether you agree or disagree with any of the topics we've discussed today. And obviously, at the weekend, it finished 1-1 in the London derby. I think we both predicted a draw in the previous episode. No real surprises there. There were some positives, albeit probably half an hour's worth. And then there was kind of the same old story with Chelsea occurring. But we haven't lost. It is 4 games without defeat. Yes, it's 3 draws, but there's some small signs of improvement, Lewis. I mean, you were there, mate. How did you see it? Some positives to take forward in terms of Joao Felix, Enzo, the front line looking much more functionable, than it has done in a long time. But in terms of defensive laps, let us down, and then kind of second half, we just kind of didn't turn up.
I don't really feel like there's a lot of improvements out of that one. I just think the new individuals come in and we look a bit better as a result, but it's just the same old 30-minute FC again. Disappeared as soon as West Ham piled on the pressure and then they got their equaliser. Never really took control of the game. Well, tell a lie, we still dominated possession, but we weren't really as threatening as we were initially. Substitutions didn't help us. Like, all in all, it just feels like the same old Chelsea. Really does. I don't see any improvement.
I mean, in terms of that first 15, 20 minutes, I thought we dominated that. I felt, Joao Felix, which we'll come on to shortly, was exceptional. Mudryk looked dangerous, as did Madueke on his first start. I thought he looked promising. And again, you can tell he's raw, but there's ability there and he has got something about him. Just on Felix, but obviously we were at Fulham when obviously he got sent off. We saw 60 minutes from him and he was kind of a class above. And the same again on the weekend. I mean, how impressed have you been with him? Seemingly no adaptation period needed. I suppose when you're a top player, you don't necessarily need it. But, I mean, he's so much better than anything we've got. And he looks so much better than anything I've watched of him at Atletico Madrid.
I got laughed at when I was told that this guy is Kai, when I was telling people that this is Kai Havertz. The Kai Havertz we were all dreaming of for the last 3 years. And you see it. He controls our attacking play. Like, he did disappear in the second half, but everything that we did make going forward, Joao Felix was in the centerpiece of it. His little close control, dribbling in tight spaces, 1v1s, his passing, it was just very good to watch from him. And like, I've heard talks that we might be trying to build the team around him and bring him in the summer. I don't blame Bowley for already pulling the trigger right now if he is thinking of it, because we look like a different team with him on the pitch. We look so much better. And if we can put the right players around him, we get a very good Chelsea as a result of it. Joao Felix was one of the small positives of that game, but still was a victim of the same thing everyone else was, which was just drifting off towards the second half. Like, we never really looked in control like we expected to be after the start of the game.
Yeah, man. I mean, seeing that first 15, 20, I honestly thought, there's like we can push on here and we should win this game, like 2 or 3. But obviously that wasn't the case. But I mean, Enzo Fernandez again, second game. Oh, he's just so good. Like, I think we've been deprived of midfielders of his quality for a number of years now in terms of investment in the squad, and the good ones we did have a kind of tailing off a little bit. Mate, he's going to be so important for us. And again, just like someone that's, I mean, not like Fabregas in a sense, but someone that can just pick a pass from midfield. I know they stood off him a little bit and he had time to pick that pass out, but you still got to do it. He kind of dictated the play. Even in the second half when everyone else dropped off, he was kind of still there or thereabouts. It looks like money well spent, doesn't it? I know he's played 2 games, but you can tell, like with Felix, it's worth it.
Mm-hmm. It was really good from him from the first 2 games. Like, we've surrounded him with not really the best tools to work with. Could have easily fallen under the pressure, but he looks so calm and composed in the way that he plays. And he makes the right decisions. The biggest thing for me is how quickly he makes those decisions as well. Like the little chipped pass to Joao Felix for the assist. I think his passing, his range of passing is excellent. The quickness in his passing and also the strength as well. It's one of the improvements from Jorginho, because I can't lie, what Jorginho would do is he'd make that pass, but it would just take ages to dip. Whereas with Enzo Fernandez, it's quick and it's straight to the point. And my webcam's just screwed up again. Give me a little sec. Yeah, we're going to stick to this one. But yeah, Enzo Fernandez looked really good. Looked very, very good. And for what he's been put in front of for the last 2 to 3 games, fair play, because he's already showcased his brilliance. And when the team's a bit more evolved, when we might have bedded a bit more into Potter's system, could see an even better player as a result, because he's doing this from a 6 position as well, when he's usually more of an 8.
Yeah, I've been really impressed with him. I really have. And, obviously you mentioned who he's been surrounded by. I actually felt Ruben, I actually think, done all right in this game, considering it's the first time we've seen him play since Newcastle before the World Cup. Comes in for this West Ham game. I think Potter was alluding to the fact that he brought him in really because against West Ham, you've got to be strong in both boxes. So I think part of the reason he played was because of his physical attributes as well to help defending the set pieces, and also because Mount, Gallagher, etc. have not been good enough. Kovacic, the carrier, not fit, so it's kind of almost a default of Ruben going now. I mean, you could have put Chukwuemeka, but I thought it was good. There was one moment in the first half where he burst through. I think he collected a Joao Felix ball and he just took a few too many touches. Could have played it across the face of the goal for a tap in at the back stick, but just a little bit rusty, I feel. Took too many touches there. But I mean, how did you view his performance? Because as I said, not played a lot of minutes at all. First minutes this year.
I can't lie, you glitched out a little bit earlier, so I need
sorry.
to get the name of it.
Yeah,
No,
Ruben,
that was on my
mate.
side.
Yeah, Ruben. Yeah. First minutes in
Yeah.
a long time. What were your thoughts on him? I actually thought he'd done all right.
For like you said, for the first start in God knows how long, looked very composed. Did peter off a little bit in phases, but again, he's just coming back from injury. I'm not really going to dig at him too much for all that. I thought he was good under pressure, played the ball into the right areas, showed his physicality against a very physical West Ham midfield. And I can't lie, I'd play him again. Everything's a mess right now, but I'd play him again next to next to Enzo Fernandez. I think that pivot actually works really well as long as Ruben keeps himself in check and he moves the ball quickly. I think you get the best of both worlds with them because they're both physical. And Ruben can do his job physically, but he can also drive the ball forward and use his power and his strength to push past midfielders. Enzo Fernandez can just dictate the play from deeper. I think we should move for that for the next game too.
Yeah, I think it was good. And there's a decision to make there in terms of Kovacic might maybe back for Dortmund. Who knows? But I think I agree. I would probably stick with that considering Kova's not played that many minutes recently either. I wanted to talk about Cucurella. Now, a poor game. He's obviously going through a difficult time at the moment. There's been some documented stuff off the pitch in terms of he's been going through whatever it is. We don't really know, but there's been some difficulties off the pitch. On the pitch, he's struggled. He's not really settled in at all at Chelsea so far in terms of his performances. This was another bad day for him in terms of just not really offering anything. Wasn't getting forward that much. Defensively, not good. And not like one thing I really noticed was the fact that he wasn't passing to Mudryk at all, hardly.
Mm-hmm.
You notice the difference. Reece James was looking to always play the ball to Madueke, pick out Madueke on that right hand side, whereas for Cucurella and Mudryk, like every time Cucurella could play Mudryk in, he either played it back inside or he just played it backwards. And Mudryk's dangerous. Like if we can get in the ball, this guy will do stuff. He's got pace, he's got good feet, he's got an eye for a good pass. Get him more of the ball and things will happen. But I mean, what did you make of Cucurella and what did you make of the boos? Because I don't know. I understand that fans, have got a right to voice their opinion, but I just think booing a player when he's clearly in a difficult situation is not really helpful. And then there's also, for me, a sense of hypocrisy to it because you've got guys that will back Mount to the hill and Havertz to the hill who turn up week in, week out on a shit and they never boo him. But Cucurella has a few bad games and suddenly he's booed. It doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't sit right. And it's just, it's so hypocritical.
This is why you just stay objective and you don't stick to this player stand BS because hypocrisy gets found out when you start criticizing other players. Cucurella's been poor. I'm at the point now where I'm blaming Potter more because he's still starting in spite of all of this, but didn't look good. Everything I saw from him just screamed a complete lack of confidence. Just a refusal to pass forward. He was always playing the safe pass. Didn't like getting into duels. Was losing most of his duels. Wasn't blocking crosses. You name it. it was just an absolute disaster class from him again. But this is more on Potter now because Potter's the one starting him every week. He's got to get dropped for the next match. He needs to take some time on the bench. I still believe in the player's ability. Like, he was unbelievable for Brighton. He's had good games for us too, but playing him into form ain't working. You got to bench him. You have to bench him. Chilwell's back. Lewis Hall's in contention. Go for one of them personally.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think part of it, look, yeah, manager keep playing him is not ideal, but I also think probably part of it is the fact that Chile probably isn't ready to start, probably still managing his minutes, building him up again. But I think, yeah, for sure, Chilwell's got to start Wednesday night in Dortmund. I think that's pretty clear. But yeah, it is hypocrisy. You can't have different standards for different players. Just call it how it is. That, like, someone's not playing well, they don't need to be booed. Just like it is what it is. But yeah, that's kind of the way the fan base is kind of going at the moment. Well, certainly certain sections of it. But mate, in terms of decisions from Potter, that I've backed Potter, I still do. But I felt in this game particularly, I thought his in-game management was terrible. In terms of the substitutions were awful. The subs are at 1-1. Like, you want to, I know we haven't got the best options on the bench right now with the injuries that we've got still, but you're looking at it at 1-1. You want to make subs that are going to give you a chance to win the game, and you go from a like a Havertz, Madueke, Mudryk front three or Felix front four, and then suddenly you put Mount and Ziyech in there, and that for me, that's not winning you the game. That's not saying to me that you're going to try and win this game. That's saying to me that you're settling for a draw. You know, Mount is in terrible form. Ziyech don't want to be here. And that just wasn't right for me. What did you make of his in-game management? Because yeah, as I say, the subs for me were terrible. It just didn't work, and it just wasn't what we were looking for. Madueke, I thought was doing well, and he can't even play on Wednesday anyway because he's not in the squad. So
I don't get why he came off.
We could have just left him on.
That's the most confusing one to me. Mudryk, I get because
Yeah.
we're still building up to match sharpness. I don't really mind too much about that one. I don't get bringing Mount and Gallagher on. I don't get what that's going to achieve, especially when Chukwuemeka's there on the pitch, and we barely give him minutes compared to the other two. Don't get why Havertz was still on the pitch when he wasn't really offering anything except offsides. He could have easily brought Fofana on. Confusing. Very, very confusing from Potter. There's a lot of questions coming out after this game.
Yeah, no, it is. In terms of Potter, we'll move on to him now. Obviously, reporting the Athletic coming out today from David Ornstein saying that you know, the owners fully back him. He's not going to be judged on kind of months and games. It's going to be more looking at years. But they obviously do. That doesn't mean it's going to be a free hit. They do want to see signs of progression. And you know, I think it's refreshing to hear in a sense that, you know, they understand that there are going to be some tough times, and this isn't just going to like suddenly overnight become an instant success like people want it to become. But I do need to start seeing some results soon, because I can't just keep backing the manager with no signs of any progress. I can't sit here and say, oh yeah, by the way, you know, I'm fully Potter in for X, Y, Z reasons, if he doesn't start delivering the results on the pitch in the short term, because we do need to get those. So I need something to buy into. Like, I understand that there's mitigating circumstances at the moment. I understand injury list. I understand there's been a lot of signings. There are these things, but ultimately I've got to see just a little bit of something, even if it's, you know, even if it's just patterns of play, or it's, you know, us picking a few results up. There's got to be something to buy into, because at the moment, kind of clinging on a little bit in terms of I need some results to keep my faith in what he's trying to do.
Yeah, I don't know. It's confusing because I know Potter's going to get given at least till next season, and I'm fine with that, really. I just need to see more from him. Seems way too comfortable in press conferences and never really says the right things. Game management isn't good enough. We never seem to dominate for more than 30 minutes. And that's been the same for a while. Nothing's really changing. So I don't know. It's very confusing right now. It really is. But I'll give Potter time. But I understand the criticisms on his name. I think a lot of people are justified in all of their problems with him. But he has to prove people wrong. It's got to be him that does that. It can only come from him.
Yeah, I mean, do you think the criticism of him is a little bit, I don't know if over the top's the right way of saying it, but like, do you think there's a certain section of the fan base that have got, like, feel it's almost a sense of entitlement that Chelsea should be doing better than they are, that they should be winning things, that we should have a quote unquote top level manager. And, I just feel that right now, like people always go on about standards. The standards at the club haven't changed. We just aren't at that level to hit the standards. Like that's what people seemingly don't really get. Like they sort of, I don't know why people think that replacing the manager with, say, a world-class manager with a good CV and whatnot it will suddenly solve all the issues. People are prepared to throw away a project 6 months in for a three-match new manager bounce and then back to the same situation again to make themselves feel a bit better. Like, it's not about that. Like, ultimately, Potter,
not even anyone available.
No, this is it as well. Like, I mean, I'm not calling for the manager to go, but if you have a legitimate, like, you look at it and you think, well, okay, let's say you are looking to replace the manager. Not going to get Pochettino. Not going to get Zidane. Like, not going to go for Luis Enrique. Like, those are the three that are available now, and that's sort of another thing. There's a lack of viable alternatives as well. If you were potentially thinking of getting rid of the manager in, but I agree that he's got the rest of this season for sure. I think he's got most of the next season as well, providing we start pretty well. I mean, do you think that's the right approach to take, to reassess things kind of the pre-season and then obviously first few months of the next season kind of see where we're at?
Yeah, it's way too early to say Potter out. You can question him. I've always said that's fine, but like I don't really. It's too early for Potter out. Way too early, because we have made improvements in the squad, but like there still needs to be more, and there still needs to be more players cleared out. But Potter is to blame for a lot still. He's as culpable now because there are players in. So I judge it game by game. It'd be way too early for me to turn on him, but I need to see more.
Yeah.
I just need to see more.
No, I agree, mate. Need to see more. And like, I think I'm almost judging him. I'm not saying that the stuff before the World Cup didn't count, but I'm almost judging it from the Palace game, from the window closing. The 4 games we've had, that we beat Palace 1-0, and then we've had 2 0-0s against Fulham and Liverpool, and the 1-1 against West Ham at the weekend.
Good in any of them really,
We
except FaZe in the Liverpool game, and that's just a mid-off.
Yeah, it was. But what I mean is, like, there is something to build on in terms of, I know it's 3 draws, but we hadn't lost for 4 games. And I know that's like, for Chelsea, that's like, shouldn't be something we're celebrating. But from where we're at this season, that for me is kind of a small positive. We're not actually letting in that many goals. We just aren't scoring that many goals. But now that we've got better pieces of the puzzle at the top end of the pitch, with more games under their belt, with more time on the training pitch, hopefully that should kind of start to gel a bit more, and we should hopefully look a bit more fluid. But we 100% need results. This is mate, how big do you think this week is for us, though, in terms of Dortmund and then Southampton at home at the weekend? Just sacked their manager, could be a new manager bounce. I really think 2 positive results will be massive for Graham Potter at this point in his Chelsea career, because if we don't beat Dortmund and we were to not to beat Southampton, I think there'd be a lot more fans that would be on it, that could be turning.
That's why it's big in both ways.
Yeah,
it's big in both ways. If you don't get results in these 2 games, there's going to be a lot of people turning for him, and it's going to be very hard to defend him. And don't forget, Tottenham away is the week after that. We haven't even conceded at that ground, let alone lost. If we don't get results in those 3 games, I can see a lot of the match-going fan base turning on Potter.
It's massive. Like, I don't want to say it's make or break, but like, beating Dortmund could be a bit of a catalyst we need to maybe push on for this season. But like, as I say, it can go one or 2 ways. It either helps us get ourselves going again, or it sets us back even further. But mate, let's quickly talk about Dortmund back in Champions League action. Potter actually unbeaten in Champions League, and we finished top of that group after having 2 points from the first 2 games. Beat Milan both legs. Obviously played. I still think we played some of our best football we've played under him in that Salzburg game, particularly the first half, the one away from home. Thought we were exceptional in that game. What are your expectations, mate? Because obviously we got. I don't know how this one's going to go. Dortmund are actually in decent form. Yes, you can say it's Bundesliga, but they're unbeaten. I think in their last 6 or 7 games.
From what I heard, they're playing defensively too.
Yeah, and then obviously the stadium's going to be full capacity for the first time, I think, since any COVID stuff. So atmosphere will be massive. Their fans will be turning out. What sort of a game are you expecting?
I don't know. Could be open, could be hella defensive. I just don't think it's going to be easy for us. I don't know. I really don't know. I just hope we win. I know Dortmund are having a full house in the Champions League for the first time in years. So atmosphere is going to be a madness. And we don't really like playing in front of raucous away crowds. So I don't know. But like this season has just taught me not to have hope for anything. So I'm going there to get pissed, to enjoy a great experience at the Signal Iduna Park. And whatever happens is whatever happens.
I mean, no away goals either this, well, not this year, but obviously last year as well. Keep kind of forgetting about that. So, would you be, as long as we're still in the tie, are you happy with that? Do you think we have to win this game, or is it just for you, it's just about going through and a draw is in terms of the tie? As long as we're still in the tie, that's the most important thing, really.
Realistically, we got to get a win, but I just don't know what to expect of us. It will be nice not to concede. We don't really have Badiashile in, though. Maybe if Chalobah comes in, like, I'd still feel a bit of confidence. But if it's Koulibaly, he's got to step up. And also from Koulibaly's perspective, if he isn't balling out in this game, peace.
I mean, it's difficult, though, isn't it? Because obviously Koulibaly was not in the squad for West Ham on Saturday. I think he was ill. But mate, he's not. I don't think Koulibaly's played minutes since Fulham away. So it's even for a player of his experience and the quality we know he has, like to just be chucked straight back in for Dortmund is pretty tough. I mean, do you think would you go Chalobah for that centre back slot alongside Thiago Silva?
Yep.
Yeah.
He's been our second best centre back before Badiashile came in. No reason not to. Like I trust him. I think he's good defensively. Might get himself into a bad position in terms of his positional awareness, but he's still a young defender as well. But I think he's given me a lot more than Koulibaly has. So I'd rather go with him. I know Fofana's just coming back to fitness, but like he's not really there yet.
We can't chuck him in,
bench. Yeah, exactly. Maybe bring him off the bench if you want to, but I wouldn't start him.
No, man, I definitely wouldn't be starting him either. I think left back, we touched on it earlier. Chile's got to start this game. It's even if he plays an hour, like he needs to start. I think it's as simple as that, mate. Would you be annoyed if he didn't start?
Not really, because I was still building him back up to fitness. I'd rather play Lewis Hall, in all honesty. I think he's looked good from that position.
Mate, he's not been in the squad the last few games, has he? I've seen he's been playing for the 21s.
Yeah, but whenever you bring him back in, still looks just as fearless. Yeah, Loki, he's been more consistent in a left back position than Cucurella and Chilwell, both of them. So why not?
Yeah, mate, I totally agree. Other areas where there's a few choices to make. That right hand side, obviously, no Madueke in the squad. Sterling came back from injury against Fulham, picked up a knock in training, missed West Ham. He's not played many minutes at all since that City game at Stamford Bridge, probably about a month ago, could be even more than a month ago. Or it's Ziyech. What are your thoughts, mate? I think it's a bit too. I think it's a big ask to chuck Sterling straight back in off basically no minutes. It played maybe 10 or so minutes against Fulham. Who would you go with on that right hand side? Sterling or Ziyech, or do you think it could be something a bit of a curveball? Maybe you could put a Chukwuemeka there.
I'd like to put Sterling in, but he hasn't played enough for me. And he's just got re-injured himself before the West Ham game. Probably would be Ziyech. And other than the Fulham game, he's not been bad the last few games. So I'm not even too against it. If it's an open game, if they play high, I think that suits him. But I have to see. I think they go with Ziyech. So I think they go with Ziyech.
Yeah. Front four for you, Ziyech, Felix playing off Havertz with Mudryk on the left. I suppose it has to be. We haven't got any. That's where it's going to be, isn't it?
Can't play anybody else. Yeah, we're going to have to.
Can you see Mount making his way back into the starting 11? I don't think there's any. I don't think there's any space for him.
You know, we'll make space. We'll end up doing that. It'd be Mount and Felix or Felix and Havertz, but we'll see. I don't know. I don't think Mount gets into this team anyway. He didn't even look good off the bench.
No,
everyone saw about that VAR decision, but like if Mount squares it to Ziyech before that, it's already 2-1 and we win.
Yeah. No, it's a fair point. I mean, you can never say never with Mount because I think Potter could easily put him back in for this game. But the fact that he took the decision to drop him in that last game, I know it's well overdue, but at least he finally did it. I think I don't see how Mount fits back into this at the moment. I know Havertz has been shit, but Felix playing off him seems to work all right. And then obviously, the pivot is what it is. I mean, if Cover's fit again, would you chuck him straight back in, or would you just keep? I think you mentioned it earlier, but you'd keep Ruben even if Cover's fit again.
Yeah, Cover's recovery time after injury. Nah, I wouldn't start him. I bring him off the bench, but I wouldn't start him.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I mean, do you think it will be more of a 4-2-3-1, or do you think we'll go? I don't even think we've got the personnel to go 3 in midfield.
Probably would still be 4-2-3-1. I think, yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, we could do it, but obviously it would require one of Gallagher or Mount to play in midfield to go the 3, and probably don't really want to do that. So I'll go over 2, yeah, and Enzo and Ruben for sure. I mean, what are your thoughts score-wise, mate? Because as I said, there's no away goals anymore. I mean, we just want to stay in the tie, really. Yes, a win would be fantastic, but as long as we're not out of the game, then I think that's got to be a good thing for me.
I'm going to say like 2-1 Chelsea. 2-1 Chelsea, just because I want to be optimistic. But it could realistically go either way. I
think our record in Europe is better, and we do seem to play a little bit better in the Champions League for one reason or another. And it could be a welcome distraction for us. So I don't know. In fact, there's no away goals. I mean, I think that's better. I mean, what are your thoughts on that briefly? Anyway, I know it's obviously happened last year as well, but do you think that's better for the Champions League? No away goals.
I preferred the away goals as a little twist, but it's worked against our favour and for our favour. So if it's gone, doesn't make too much of a difference.
Nah, we still got to score anyway, isn't it? So I suppose it don't really matter. I mean, we were spot on last time against West Ham with the predictions. I'm gonna, mate. Do you know, I actually think the same. I'm gonna go for a 2-1 first leg win as well. But yeah, ultimately, yeah, hopefully we're right again. As long as we're in the tie, that's the most important thing for me. And at this point, I'm not that asked about the performances. Just win or just get the results. We can worry about those performances later on. But let's just get the points in the bag. Let's just try and get 1 foot in the quarterfinals and see if we can build from there. But yeah, seems like a good point to round out. Guys, as I said at the start, smash the likes on the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Make sure you check out our personal channels. Make sure you subscribe to Carefree Lewis G, subscribe to the Blues Brothers. And guys, hopefully it's a positive night in Dortmund, and we'll catch you again with another episode soon.